Most people never get wealthy. Not because they don't work hard enough, not because they don't earn enough, but because of one quiet, invisible mistake they make in the way they think about money itself. And if you're watching this, there's a good chance you're making it too. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt genuinely satisfied after getting money? Like you got a bonus, or closed a deal, or hit a savings milestone, and you sat back and thought, okay, I'm done, I'm good, I have enough? If you're honest with yourself, that feeling probably lasted about 3 days, maybe a week, and then something in you shifted and you started thinking about the next number. That's not a personal failing. That's what happens when you confuse the tool for the goal. Money is one of the most powerful inventions in human history, and I mean that literally. Before money existed, if you were a farmer and you needed shoes, you had to find a cobbler who happened to need grain at that exact moment. That's called the double coincidence of wants, and it made trade almost impossible at scale. Money solved that. It became a universal medium of exchange, a way to store the value of your work and deploy it whenever and wherever you needed. That's what money actually is at its core. It's stored time. It's stored energy. It's compressed human effort that can be transferred across space and time. But here's where it gets interesting. The moment money became abstract, the moment it stopped being a gold coin you could feel in your hand and became a number on a screen, something strange happened in our brains. We started treating the number itself as the thing we were after. And that's a catastrophic category error. Think about it this way. A hammer is a tool. Its entire purpose is to drive nails. But imagine someone who becomes so obsessed with collecting hammers that they forget to ever build anything with it. They wake up at 5 a.m. to earn more hammers. They stress about not having enough hammers. They sacrifice friendships, health, sleep, all in service of the hammer collection. That sounds absurd, right? But replace hammer with money, and that is the story of millions of people's lives. Now, I want to be very clear about something here, because I've seen a lot of financial content that romanticizes being broke or treats ambition as a character flaw. That's not what I'm saying. Wanting more money is completely rational. Not having enough money is genuinely painful. It limits your options, it creates chronic stress, and there's strong research showing that financial strain affects cognitive function, decision-making, and even physical health. Money solves real problems. I'm not here to tell you to detach from money or pretend it doesn't matter. What I'm saying is something more precise. The people who build the most meaningful financial lives are the ones who are clear on what the money is actually for. Not in a vague security or freedom kind of way. Specifically, concretely, what does a good day in your life actually look like? And what role does money play in making that possible? Here's a fact that most people find uncomfortable. Study after study on well-being, including the famous Princeton research by Daniel Kahneman and Angus Deaton, has shown that emotional well-being does rise with income, but the effect gets smaller and smaller as income grows. Once your basic needs are covered and you have some financial buffer, each additional dollar contributes less and less to how you actually feel day to day. Now, more recent research has refined this, and there's debate about where exactly the curve flattens. But the core finding holds. Beyond a certain threshold, the relationship between money and happiness becomes almost entirely dependent on what you do with the money and how you think about it, not on the number itself. So the question isn't how much do I have? The question is, what am I building with it? This is where most financial advice completely misses the point. It focuses entirely on accumulation strategies, how to save more, invest smarter, earn more, without ever asking the prior question, which is, accumulate for what? Exactly. And when you skip that question, money becomes an open-ended game you can never win. Because there's no finish line. There's no number that, once reached, tells you the game is over. The goalpost always moves. And you end up living in permanent scarcity anxiety even when you're objectively doing well. I want to tell you about something called the hedonic treadmill. It's a psychological phenomenon where humans consistently return to a baseline level of happiness, regardless of major positive or negative events. Win the lottery, you feel euphoric, and within a couple of years, you're roughly as happy as you were before. Get a significant raise, you feel great, and 6 months later, you've adjusted your lifestyle and you're already thinking about the next raise. This isn't pessimism, it's neuroscience. Our brains are wired for adaptation. What felt like abundance last year feels like normal this year and feels like not enough next year. The only way to get off that treadmill is to change your relationship to the tool, not to keep chasing a bigger version of it. Now here's the part I really want you to sit with. People who treat money as a tool always ask the same basic question before making financial decisions. Does this purchase, this investment, this trade-off move me closer to the life I actually want? People who treat money as the goal ask a different question. Does this make the number bigger? And those two questions lead to radically different lives. The tool-oriented person might take a lower-paying job that gives them more time with their kids, because time with their kids is part of the actual goal. The number-oriented person would never make that trade, because in their mental model, lower income is always worse, by definition. The tool-oriented person can say no to an expensive car, not because they're frugal, but because they've done the math and the expensive car doesn't buy them anything they actually want. The number-oriented person buys it because their identity is tied to the number, and the expensive car is proof of the number. This is also why people who inherit large sums of money without any context often destroy their lives with it. The money wasn't connected to any purpose, it was just a pile of tool with no project to apply it to. And without a project, the tool becomes the end, and you get consumption, status seeking, and eventually emptiness. Let me give you a different model to think about. Imagine your life as a project, not a corporate buzzword kind of project. I mean a genuine, personal, lived project. What are you actually trying to build? What kind of relationships? What kind of experiences? What kind of contribution? What kind of daily texture does a good version of your life have? Get as specific as you can. Not the Instagram version, the real version. The Tuesday afternoon at 3 p.m. version. Money is the resource you're allocating toward that project. Sometimes you need more of it to move the project forward. Sometimes the bottleneck isn't money at all. It's time, energy, skill, or relationships. When you think this way, financial decisions become much clearer. You're not asking what's the optimal investment vehicle in the abstract. You're asking what does my project need right now, and what's the most efficient way to resource it. This reframe also changes how you feel about money you spend. When you spend in alignment with your actual project, when you pay for the experience, the health investment, the tool that actually moves your life forward, it doesn't feel like loss. It feels like progress. Whereas money spent to perform wealth, or to fill an emotional hole, or out of habit, that money always feels hollow even before you spend it. One more thing I want to leave you with, because I think this is underappreciated. The single biggest thing that separates people who feel rich from people who feel poor, regardless of the actual number, is optionality. It's the ability to say no. No to the job you hate, no to the relationship that's draining you, no to the obligation that conflicts with what you actually value. That's what financial security really means when you strip it down. It's not a specific number, it's the capacity to choose. And once you understand that, you realize you're not trying to maximize the number. You're trying to build enough of a buffer that the number stops making your decisions for you. That's the whole game. Get the tool working well enough that you're in charge of it instead of it being in charge of you. So the next time you find yourself anxious about money, ask yourself this: am I anxious because I genuinely don't have enough to do what matters to me? Or am I anxious because I've accidentally turned the tool into the goal and now I'm chasing a number that will never feel like enough? The answer to that question might be the most financially important thing you figure out this year. Remember this: money is powerful, but only when you're the one controlling it. Don't spend your life chasing numbers in a bank account while forgetting to actually live. Use money to build freedom. Use it to create time. Use it to design a life that feels right to you. Because at the end of the day, money is just a tool. You are the purpose. If this video changed your perspective even a little, make sure you subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear this. And I'll see you in the next video.